Moscow, the city and capital of Russia. Home to millions of people from this great country, this is a city that has a unique culture and a very intense history. And this is a place here on FTD Facts that we are looking into for the first time. And for us, it's quite exciting because Moscow is not only one of the most important places on the entire planet, but as we progress here on the channel learning about people, cultures, and places from around the world, we can't forget about the great people of Russia and their history. So welcome to FTD Facts, guys. My name is Dave Walpole, and like I said, this is a channel where we talk about different cultures from all around the world. Now, this is a video, we've been talking a lot about Russian-themed things, such as we talked about, the power of Russia, we've talked about St. Petersburg, and we've given some just general facts about Russia itself. But this is a video that was recommended by many of you guys, such as Wang Hanyo, Bluebird, Videk Menaj, and as well Anastasia Pur and Milana Kabakova said they were from Moscow, and a lot of you guys have mentioned Moscow in our comments section in the last couple of months. Also, I just really want to also give a big shout out and a thank you to my friend Alina, who really helped me get all these cool facts about Moscow. She went really into the history. You're gonna find out, it's crazy. Yeah! Now before I get in this video, I want to know from all you guys out in the real world, what is your favorite city and why? Let me know down there. As well, if you guys want to know what videos are coming up in the future, head on over to our website and sign up for our mailing list where we will forward you our production schedule for future videos. And if you want to contribute any facts about the future videos, you can always email us at ftdfacts@gmail.com. Now as for Moscow, it is a city that was formed between two rivers, the Moscow River and the Naglanaya River. And according to archaeologists, they say that the region was inhabited by settlers approximately during the second millennia. Now these settlers were primarily fishermen and hunters, which later on became Slavic tribes that settled the land. Now currently it's unclear when Moscow had its city founded, but many historians dispute the fact that the city was established by Knyaz Oleg of the Novgorod in the 9th century. But officially this region was known as the Moscow River, which was incorporated in the Rostov-Suzdal Principality, which was one of 7 principalities that succeeded the Kievan Rus Federation, which was approximately in the 11th century. But the first official mention of Moscow or Moskov was in the 12th century. This was near the end of the Kievan Rus Federation when its principalities were becoming separated. And during this time, Knyaz Yuri Dolgoruki fortified the town with a timber fence and a moat. And in 1147, it is marked as Moscow's official year of existence. And the reason for this is because Yuri Dolgoruki met with Svyatslav Oglovich, stating for him to come meet him in Moscow, which again was a small town in the western border of the Vladimir Suzdal Principality. Now one thing that was a problem at this time is that the whole region was pretty much a bunch of different towns. And during this time, Yuri had constructed wooden walls around these settlements after executing Stefan Ivanovich, who the towns belonged to, in order to create a fortified position. But why the name Moscow? Well, as you already know, Moscow had many different names before it, such as Moscow River, and even before that, it was known as Kuchikov. But for the name, historians are unable to find the linguistic origins of the word. However, it is hypothesized that it comes from Finnish origins, meaning current, foggy, twisted, and crooked. That doesn't sound too appealing. But in the first half of the 13th century, things in Moscow changed. It was because of Alexander Yaroslavich Nevsky, who founded Moscow as a princely dynasty, transferred his possession of the city to his son Daniil, or Daniel. And it was around that time the emblem of Moscow was created. As well, it was decided that George the Victorious, which was the guardian angel of its founder Yuri, was to be the official emblem of Moscow. As well, the future Daniel princes would be named after Yuri in his honor. Now in 1326 there was a major occurrence in Moscow, which was the relocation of the Metropolitan bishop. Because of their move from the city of Vladimir to Moscow, Moscow became a very influential and religious city. But by the 15th century, Constantinople was captured by the Turks. This caused the Russian Metropolitans to become elevated to the throne, which then furthered Moscow's importance within the entire country. And throughout all these years, Moscow had a very uneasy history. For example, in 1238, Moscow was nearly burned to the ground by Khan Batu and his Mongolian forces who sieged the city. As well, in 1365, another large fire took place, nearly destroying the city once again. And between 1368 and 1370, the Lithuanian Knyaz Algirdas attacked and sieged Moscow between these years, with Dmitry Daniskoy and his army protecting Moscow from these expanding invaders. And by 1380, Dmitry united Russia's army and led victory over the Tatar Mongols in the Battle of Kulikovo. However, 2 years later, in 1382, Khan Tokyamish of the Golden Horde and the Tatar Mongols attacked Moscow yet again. And after 3 days of siege, Dmitry unfortunately surrendered when his brother-in-law opened the gates of the city, allowing the city's inhabitants to be massacred. Now, during the reign of Knyaz Ivan III, Moscow was established as the capital of the Russian state. And this was all after Ivan had pushed back the Mongolian horde, freeing northeastern Russia, returning it back to the country. Now, it was during this time that Ivan had the idea of making Moscow Third Rome. And this was after he married the niece of the last Byzantine emperor, Sophia Paleologina, which at this time the two-headed eagle, which is a very Russian symbol, started appearing on the princely seals. And no sooner after all of this is when a lot of the construction for a lot of the famous buildings within Moscow started to begin. And considering we're talking about that, let's talk about one of the most important ones, and that is Red Square. Now, the thing about Red Square is it's had a lot of different name changes throughout history. For example, in the 1500s, it was called Veliki Torg, which meant Great Market, or simply Torg, which was also Market. And it was also called Troitskaya, which was named after a church in the area, which was unfortunately destroyed during the Tatar invasion in 1571. After that, the square was known as Pozar, which meant burnt, and around 1661 to 62, it got the name Krasnaya, which meant red. As well as during 1601 to 1603, Moscow was one of the biggest places that was hit by the Russian famine. It is assumed that within Moscow, this famine killed approximately 100,000 people within the city, which was also one of the worst times within Russia as they lost approximately a third of their population. And scientists believe that the famine itself was due to the 1600 volcanic eruption of the Peruvian volcano Hyanattapatina. However, guys, that is just us looking a little bit at the history of Moscow, because to be honest, there is so much history about this city, we'll probably get that in another episode. But as of today, the population of Moscow sits at roughly 12.5 million people as of January 1st, 2017. And as of 2016, it is home to the largest tower in all of Europe. This is the Federation Tower, but its East Tower, more specifically named Vostok Tower, has 95 floors and stands at 1,227 feet. And currently, it battles for the 37th tallest building in the entire world. But although the city has had a history of conflict, it's also had a history of peace. And one of these moments in history was a festival that Moscow hosted. It was during the end of the Soviet Union, being called the Moscow Peace Festival. Happening on August 12th and 13th of 1989, they had American bands like the Scorpions, apparently Bon Jovi, Ozzy Osbourne, and this was a concert in order to promote peace within the country. It was held in the what is now known as the Luzhniki Stadium, having over 100,000 people attending, and was one of the most influential glam rock moments in human history. And speaking of festivals, we can't forget about talking about the City of Lights in Moscow, because it's one of the coolest. It is a light show that shows historical moments and, of course, entertaining images, thousands of lights being displayed on Moscow's historical buildings. And in 2014, it won the best cultural show within all of Russia, and in 2015, it had the Guinness record for having the largest projected image, and within the same year, it won the City Festival of the Year. And of course, to finish it all off, Moscow is home to two of the most important UNESCO zones in history. And one of the biggest is the Moscow Kremlin, which is the world's largest medieval fortress. The word Kremlin means fortress inside a city, and it was built in between the years of 1482 to 1495. A major piece of architecture that definitely stands within the center of Moscow, and as well keeps track of the city with its 25-ton clock, with the clock's rim, numbers, and hands being covered in 28 kilograms of gold. So there you have it, guys. My name is Dave Wapple. This has been us just talking briefly about Moscow. Guys, this is a crazy city, and if you guys want to know more about this, you should hit the subscribe button, because we're going to definitely talk about Moscow in the future, because it's just, there's so much about it. Like, Like, it's huge. It's got a lot of history. Like, we only got to the 1600s. There's so much in between that as well. But before you guys get out of here, just a reminder, head on over to our website, sign up for our mailing list so we can send you guys our schedule of what we are uploading in the future. And who knows, you might even be a part of that. But this is Moscow, or Moscov, the pride and joy of Russia. The heart that keeps Mother Russia going, being the financial center of the entire country. A home to many people who are living their lives focusing on opportunity, family, and progress. This is the city of Moscow, home of the great, the proud, and the bold. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you guys really like this video and you want to learn more about some cool Russian topics, hey, check out our video on St. Petersburg. Also a lot of history and some really cool facts about the city that I found fascinating. And while you're at it, why don't you check out our video on elephants, because let's be real, elephants are one of the most amazing animals on the entire planet, and you might benefit from learning from them. Other than that, this has been FTD Facts, and we'll see you guys in the next video if you hit the subscribe button. Cool? Bye-bye.